Hello, everyone, and welcome to Move, Crush, Count. I first, I have to have it.
Welcome
I
back.
have to
Thank you.
apologize. I have to apologize. So first off, if you were on here for the first 5 or 6 minutes and you were trying to figure out, man, why isn't it going? Where's the show? Because we were on a roll and having a phenomenal show. It was probably one of the best shows we've ever had. And then I look up and I realize I forgot to hit the go live button. So here we are, round two.
Old man moments, Scott. Old man moments.
We got in a whole discussion about hair. We got in a whole discussion about age. It was awesome. All right, so let me get back to this. Today's interview is sponsored by J&L Marketing, a digital marketing agency helping business leaders outsmart and outmarket their toughest competitors so you don't have to outspend them. With J&L Marketing, you get to move the crowd, crush the competition, and count the money. I want you to make sure to check out movecrushcount.com for more so you can hit that subscribe button and get notified on future guests and episodes. The title of today's interview is What's New with Client Relationship Management, an interview with Steve Roessler. My name is Scott Joseph. Steve is a true expert when it comes to client relationship management, better known as the abbreviation, your CRM, but he's going to talk to us today about some new techniques and strategies that are extremely effective, especially when compared to a lot of the, I guess, common ways that it's been done in the past. So welcome, Steve, again.
Yeah. Hey, man. Take two. I love coming on twice, man. This is great. I mean, this is like my New Year's resolution now, being introduced twice like that. So, and just for the audience, I don't know if everybody realized, but he actually told you what CRM stood for. So it's good to kind of know because I've asked that question. A lot of people don't even know what that acronym stands for. So that's a good way to start off by educating.
So let's jump right in. Let's talk a little bit about your background, your experience, your education. How did you become an expert? Where did you get started on all this?
Well, back in the day, when I first graduated from college, I'm an engineer by degree. I just wanted to sell something technical. Everybody, would die if they knew that I was an engineer. Most of the time, Scott, I do ask if you had to guess what kind of a degree I had. Nobody will ever guess engineering. It's just always kind of a fun little thing. So now the secret's out. But my first job in engineering sales, I had to use a CRM and we talked about this, but ACT. I mean, I use ACT, and if anybody is old like us, Scott, they may remember that program. But you had to download it to your computer, and you needed one computer to run it. That's how much, how big of a deal it was. Obviously, we've evolved, and everything's cloud based and everything at this time. But using a CRM. In both, I did engineering sales for 5 years, and then I got into medical for 16 years, and then I got in automotive for 8 years. But, in other industries, you would never take a job if you were in sales without a CRM. That was the mentality I always had. Your CRM was kind of like what kept you on track. I just like any other sales guy, I'm, organization is our weak spot, and CRM always kept me honed and focused on what my next activity was, where I left the steps to the sale. And, I've had great managers over the years in all those different industries on how to leverage the CRM to make me more money. And that's really, I just years of experience on how to use it appropriately. So you're continuing the sale from where you left off. You're not just starting from scratch. So I can't imagine not using a CRM overall in any job. I would never take a job without a CRM.
Now, how long, what made you choose Drive Centric? Without getting salesy, I don't want you getting salesy on here, but what made you, because you could have went to a lot of different companies. I mean, what got you there?
Yeah, well, no, I'm an owner now. So this is my third startup. So I was in the medical industry. I started up 2 companies in the medical industry, both very successful companies. But I wasn't an owner, and I always wanted to be an owner. And Dave Foltz, Phil Fuse, interviewed me here in St. Louis because I'm buddies with Dave. He's a neighbor of mine. I played poker with the guy for a number of years, trusted me, and I just kind of said, hey, man, I want you to take a look at something. So after a night or whatever we were doing, I went up to his house drinking beers at like 12:30 at night, and he showed me how to shoot videos in this new platform that he was building, like whatever it was 9 years ago. And I was just like, dude, I could sell this in the medical industry. I could kick Salesforce's butt, man. And he goes, well, how would you like to do it in the auto industry? And that's really how he knew I was a CRM nut. He knew I love startups, and it just was a match made in heaven.
So how long did it take for you because I remember the program when it first started out, right? And very the user experience in terms of like, if I'm a salesperson or in sales management, using it very easy. That was always great. Some of the new techniques, but where were some of the aha moments for you, where you were like, man, we're on to something really good here?
Yeah, boy, that's a great question. First and foremost, I will tell you, it took me a long time to connect to automotive. The one thing, because I never sold a car, and you're going out there teaching salespeople how to use a CRM and how to sell.
Yeah.
It took me a good year or a year and a half to really connect the dots. So there was a lot of, self evaluation that I had to do as far as my approach, because my approach just wasn't working. And when you come from the medical side, you're
Steve, people comment all the time how your approach doesn't work, but that's all right.
Well, going from one industry to this industry is just so different. And here's the thing: like, I will tell everybody on here what was my aha moment to connect in this industry was, whether I sold engineering products or I sold, services, surgery devices, pharmacy products, whatever in the medical field. Now I'm selling CRM. You don't sell anything other than the person. And the one thing I take a lot of pride in after all my evaluations, and I learned this even in medical, I just forgot it when I got into automotive. Yeah, you're selling the person. And that's what your CRM is going to be used for, is to build that relationship. That's why relationship is so key in that. You got to build the relationship. You have to understand a little bit about who they are. Like Scott, you live in Louisville, Kentucky. You know what I mean? Obviously, J&L Marketing, you're an owner. Just all these things that you can learn from social media. It's right at our fingertips. And now you can put that in your CRM. So you have that relationship and you can always remember, and you start to learn from your memory what's in your CRM, because you see it every day on your tasks or in the account profile, a little bit about that customer. And if you focus on one thing about that customer 99% of the time, you will win the deal no matter what you sell.
So let me ask you, so you brought up the roadblock of, I guess, coming from one industry into auto, not being as familiar with it. What other roadblocks did you run into, I should ask?
Well, CRM is a bad 3-letter word. I mean, nobody wants to change their CRM, let alone their DMS. That's why the 3-letter word thing is so critical. So,
and for those listening, not in automotive, DMS, dealer management system.
You do it.
But it's basically, it's the backbone to where all the data for a dealership, in terms of how they run their company. So it's how they run their dealership. So every industry's got their own software that does that, it seems like. But what I love about what we're going to talk about, the techniques you're talking about now, it'll depend on if their CRM can do some of these things or not. But the strategies and the things you guys are doing are newer and better and performing better than other CRMs that I've seen. And I'm not trying to sell this. So what I'm trying to do is, if there are people listening outside of the auto industry, what you're going to hear today, you got to figure out how to integrate these into what you're doing, because it's a night and day difference. I can tell you, my own stores are on the program. We made the number one reason, because we haven't, at the time of the decision, right, we hadn't used your product. So we couldn't sit there and say, well, our results are better then. We trusted that they would be better. But without a doubt, we were able to see that the user experience was, in other words, our teammates, the user experience was, and I won't say who we came from, but 10 times better, if not more. And my opinion is this: if no one uses the CRM or doesn't use it the right way, to use it to, at least a high percentage of what it's capable of doing, doesn't matter. So to me, it always starts with the user experience on it. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, look, the user experience is literally what we take a lot of pride in. Most of these CRMs, and whether it's outside of automotive. I mean, look, I've used CRMs outside of automotive, and if you got listeners outside, the mobile app is what's going to be critical for any of the salespeople. I mean, that's you want to pull data out for marketing perspective. Obviously for what you guys do, but managers are going to look at that no matter what level. And if your people are putting in no information, that it's kind of giving you information about why they're not using the tool. Like texting is the number one form of communication. Most of the CRMs, at least in automotive, for example, and even outside of automotive, that you have to have a plug-in to text. Now in automotive, yeah, texting is built in, but some of these CRMs that were built like over 20 years ago, that wasn't coded correctly. So what that means is because the code was 20 years old, think of like a Fortran type old, right? And then go out there and put something in there, they usually have to have a plug-in of some kind. It wasn't built with the true foundation of what the system was built on. So as a technology company, really what we're building here at Drive Centric, it's more the Apple approach, I guess we always like to call it, where everything is built in one. And the Apple approach means like you don't have to go buy a Kodak camera.
Yeah.
You don't have to, use your credit card because it's on your phone. You have to think everything is on one device.
Right.
That's what we take a lot of pride in. So you don't have to run to a fax machine and fax a customer. You don't have to page a customer. You don't have to integrate. Integrate is the big word that they use in all these different CRMs. And what that means is it's not built. They built a bridge. And when that bridge fails, things break. And that's what people on the dealership side or even outside, you got to realize that integration is a temporary solution.
I like that you brought up. Well, first off, I want to shout out to Fred, a good friend of both of ours.
Oh yeah, Freddie.
Yeah, let's put his comment up on the board. By the way, we're streaming this out to Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. And so some people might be watching, some people might only be listening, doing the audio version of this podcast. If you're only listening, and I brought this up on the first take when I forgot to go live, Steve will be the last guest that comes on here with such superior hair. The comparison is making me look old and bad. But I will say, I love what Fred just says here. They need to like the system and work it to hold their teams accountable, meaning sales management, right? But the reality is, it's very difficult. We've all tried to. The word holding people accountable. It might be so overused, but he's correct in this sense. But you can be great at holding people accountable, but if you've got a system that's that's cumbersome, it's hard to use, it's not enjoyable. That's a big team. They're going to fight you on it, and the reality is, you're eventually going to give in and just let it go and not hold them accountable to that CRM. Which is why I think a lot of organizations using a CRM do not use whatever version, whatever software they're using. They don't use it effectively because they've given up on it.
Yeah.
Their teams fight them. But
the one thing I'll just point out too is I think, and I got to say this about automotive because we do a lot of just education for sales and just dealerships about some of the new metrics. Because in automotive, if we could go out there and look at the data, just on the used car side. I mean, I think every new car is being delivered right now, but again, you got to change with the times. And if you go out there and look at how fast cars are being sold on the used car market, it's 70% of the time in 4 days, and you add another 10 to call it 15% at 10 days. So what is that telling us? Is we use CRM as more of a mining tool in the traditional sense, I think, for these, other CRMs. And traditionally, yeah, you would go out there and think of any CRM as a data management system. Because of how automotive and the customer's buying cycle is so fast, it's about engagement. So we're transforming the CRM space into more of an engagement play.
This is perfect. This is perfect, Steve, because I was going to ask you next. I wanted to say, how is like CRM, how's it different today versus the past? You already brought up mobile, but keep going with this because I love this, where you're going with this.
You got to look at your CRM as being holistically, being able to have all the tools to engage the customer on the pathway that they want to communicate. The days of right now, all these dealerships monitoring 100 phone calls and 50 emails a day. I ask each and every one of you, what does that get you? because if you don't know what your engagement level is, then you're failing out of the gate. It's an old school mentality to say, I get this many leads, I schedule this many appointments, this many show. If you don't know that you get 100 internet leads and you don't know your engagement rate, you can't schedule an appointment with somebody you don't talk to in 2023. I mean, and we've been teaching this for 5 years. So engagement is so important to the metrics and the success of the stores that now these new KPIs are being front and center, at least of our stores. So now if you take a look at the customer's buying cycle, and if there's a customer that's now talking to your store, you have to think of your CRM now as like a big chat provider with multi forms of communication, text, email, video, live streaming, Facebook Marketplace, if you're doing Facebook Marketplace, chat, all these communications are now streamlined into one tool. And it's all put in chronological order, which is the first time it's been done in the history of any CRM that I've ever been a part of. And so it's just an exciting time to go out there and promote something brand new, especially in the automotive space that's so critical to the business for them to grow.
What do you guys do? Because, every business leader has their own processes, their own systems. They create things to try and give them a competitive advantage. And you kind of just touched on some for you guys. What do you guys do? What are some techniques that you guys do to come up with new ideas so you're an innovative company? Because the reality is, we've seen a lot of companies come out of the gate, and you guys have been around a while, but you continue to evolve. But a lot of companies come out of the gate, and you brought up like the 20-year-old code and stuff like that. And it becomes this big ship that they can't, it's like takes them too long, or it would be too much effort to blow it up and start over to get it right into what today's market might need. So what is it that, share with us how you guys stay ahead? How do you innovate? How do you get your new ideas?
Yeah, I think you go at the Amazon approach and you're obsessed with the customer. I think that's the right way to go look at it. The customers are, and I say the customers, meaning the customers buying at the store, and you look at the customer experience. I look at it now, instead of saying customer experience, I talk about customer reactions. Because if you don't develop a positive reaction, the customer doesn't buy a car from you. And I learned that from John Tanner from Bar Rescue. Customer experience is so watered down now. I think we use it way too much. Oh, we get a customer experience. No, how do you know? How do you know? And the answer is you don't. If I can't make you laugh, smile, or give me the finger, I don't have a reaction. I don't know if you're having a positive or negative experience with this webinar right now, or this Zoom meeting. So what we do is I study like the customers that they're buying based on automotive news, or, we go to outside sources to say what the clients want. Then you go look at the data that's inside Drive with 1,000 stores we now have. And we tell a story about how, based on what the data is telling us, make some reasonable assumptions that customers want a faster response. They want to know that you got their undivided attention in this digital showroom area. And that's what, unfortunately, in any of these CRMs, if I ask you, Scott, how many customers are talking to you in your digital showroom right now today? Any of your dealers, not on Drive Centric, will not know the answer. And that should scare the bejesus out of every dealership. Because if you had 100 dealers or 100 customers talking to one of your stores, Scott, how many opportunities do you have for the day? 100.
No,
100. And you can't tell me the number one KPI that should be so important to every dealership, because you could tell me how many internet leads you got, how many phone ups you got, how many customers walked in the store. But all those opportunities turn into an engaged customer for you to sell. And you have to know that new KPI.
Yeah, you stumped me. And that's what, if they're engaging with you, then there's 100 opportunities. You're right. That's right.
Yeah.
But if only 3 people are engaged in that conversation, you've got 3 opportunities.
That's it. That's why people are in this doing the task, do the task mode, and we do the task at engagement mode, because a reply is an activity to a customer's response. And so because engagement is so front and center in our system, is I could tell you how many customers are in your digital showroom. And why do I need a work plan to generate engagement when you may have 100 customers talking to your store right now? So that's why you get rid of a lot of, these task-based systems. We try to steer all our customers to get rid of about 80% of their business rules and be more reply monkeys than task monkeys.
All right. So let me ask you this question. What are some of the techniques or strategies you would recommend to people to raise that level of engagement?
Oh, 100%. Like this is one of the things I study. I mean, so I just recently did a presentation and said, you'll like this, Scott. Are you dating your internet leads? All right. So
I
let's
like, hey, I that's interesting you say that, because recruiting and hiring top talent is an issue with most business leaders, correct?
correct.
And to me, that interview process, that recruiting process, one thing that we try to teach here is you need to approach that as if you're either dating or trying to date that person,
Mhm.
because that's really what it is, right? I'm trying
Yep.
to get this person to enjoy their time with me, to want to continue with me in terms of going on future dates, or, taking the relationship to other levels, whatever it might be.
Yep.
So that means you don't show up late for interviews. All right. And let the person sitting out in your lot. If you were going on a date and trying to make a great first impression, think about the things you would do. And so the way, I love how you take this same mental approach, because to me, it's just like what we talked about earlier on the first take, that we forgot to hit the live. I forgot to hit the live button. It's the difference between a client and a customer, right?
Yep.
So keep going with that thought. I love where you're going with this.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing what I did was I studied, because again, I've been out of the market of dating for 20 years. Okay. So I am married. I was going to try to do my own little Bumble app just to have some fun with it. And my wife said, you better. So, but anyway, here's what happens in the dating world when you study it is, they go out, they communicate on whatever dating tool they're on, like Bumble. I use Bumble because it's a female controlled app, and it's kind of like a fun little app. I got to move because the sunlight's starting to come through the clouds.
Yeah.
But
It's just God shining his light on you.
that's
Steve.
right, baby. I don't want my hair to catch on fire. But in the dating world, if a girl reaches out to me on Bumble, I have 24 hours to reply back. Otherwise, I vanish. That's why I think Bumble is so amazing, because you got to look at that as an internet lead, right? If you're the guy, and I got 24 hours to reply. Otherwise, my wife could potentially just vanish, right? So now, once they start communicating on this dating channel, you know where they move the communication to? Because they're limited on their communication on these dating apps. What do you think they move the communication channel to?
I would assume text
No,
or
Snap.
a private
Snap.
video.
No, well, they do. Well,
Nice.
Snap, there's a lot of,
Well,
but the reason why they do it at Snap is they don't want to share their private information.
right.
All right. Then how do they do their first date 51% of the time? Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom. They don't want to be catfished. Right.
That's what I was going to say. That solves some problems by doing
exactly. So let's take what's happening in the dating world and what people do every day and apply it then to the car industry. So for those of you who are making these, 100 phone calls, 50 emails a day, God bless you. All right. But here's the technique to get you higher level engagement. Okay. Number one, I'm not saying I'm not anti-phone, but what you have to do is you have to think about the dating strategy. You have to earn the right to get the customer on the phone. So texting is in fact the number one form of communication. It just is. Go out there and ask anybody. 99% of people text. It's just the way it works. So what you do is you build a relationship with text. Now, the strategy I like to teach in my texting class is you get a rule of 3. So Scott, if I text you, you text me, I text you, you go back and forth 3 times. I've earned the right to schedule what I call a mini appointment. And you schedule that mini appointment on the phone because you're trying to get them on the phone, which I 100% agree. That's my goal for every one of the salespeople is get on the phone. But you have to do it in a logical sense. If I call you, Scott, or if somebody's calling you right now, you're ignoring their conversation because you're busy.
Yeah.
Everybody is busy. So you have to learn to schedule this phone appointment, call it, on Scott's time, not my time. Otherwise, it's just perceived as rude from the customer. Now, you get that internet lead and you let's say within 5 minutes, make the phone call 100% of the time. But if that internet lead goes out, let's say 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, you probably lost them.
Yeah. So I wrote that banner up there and I put it up there because I'm going to take that and run with it. You have to earn the right to get the client on the phone. And so when you're pounding, if you're an organization out there saying pound the cold calls, the cold calls, the cold calls, yeah, no one's saying not do that, but why not warm them up? I was using this discussion the other day, and when I have people message me on social channels, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn,
Mhm.
If someone is always supporting my post, making comments, and I've got this, even if somebody I haven't met, and I've got this relationship, first off, as a business leader, I sit there and have a perception about that person. That perception is, wow, this person's really into their job. They're not pounding me with sales stuff. They're supporting me. They're into their job. Because I know why they're doing it, right?
Mhm.
I see that if they eventually reach out to me on social and want to set up or call me, I almost always take the meeting or enter into the discussion because I feel this internal pressure to give back to them,
Mhm.
right? I want to give back to them. Whereas, like to your point, when someone's just calling me or sending me some just generic message, I ignore it every time.
Yeah.
I never respond to it. They haven't earned and it's not me saying you haven't earned the right. It's a feeling I get inside that I feel no obligation.
No, that's
I got to guard my time.
the communication with text. I want everybody to think about the tools you have available with texting are just incredible to build that relationships. And for those of you who know me, I am the GIF king. Okay, so I send GIFs like left and right. All right, I mean, and GIFs are that fun way of communicating, that mini video that goes out there and builds an experience. Like so. With New Year's, I sent out. I use another app called Blipsy. Blipsy is kind of like GIF with sound. So I sent Kermit the Frog saying "Happy New Year," and I get a lot of LOLs with that. And I literally hit a marketing guy just to say Happy New Year with it. He goes, LOL. I go, I got you to engage. I win, kind of thing. So, I mean, GIFs work to build the customer's reaction through digital forms of communication. And when you get an LOL, now I could probably say, hey, now they're understanding, hey, I'm a fun guy, whatever. If you're communicating with black and white, you're probably a boring guy or gal. It's just you got like I look at a text thread on my phone, and Scott, I'll tell you to look at this is, if you go look at your text thread, I look at it as a Christmas tree effect. So what does that mean? Well, if I'm communicating with all words to somebody back and forth, I would never put two Christmas ornaments together on a Christmas tree. That would look really dumb. So what I do is I look for a Christmas tree effect where I'm putting in a GIF, I'm putting in text messages, I'm putting in a Blipsy, I'm putting in a meme, or an emoji, whatever, or a video. Right? We got to talk video. So I'm using multi forms of communication in one form of communication, which is text, which gives me way more ammunition to go out there and build that reaction with the customer.
Where'd you learn that? Was that through experience, or is that something? Because I like that.
What's that? The Christmas tree effect?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the way I look at my threads. That's my thing. I should coin that actually. Now you say that.
You should. That's actually very good.
I mean, it's just I don't want to be boring. I mean, salespeople, if you're boring in sales, that's fine. People buy boring. I don't, but I mean, some people do. And I think salespeople should always be like fun loving and, just, carefree and, you're all over the place like me. But with your communication style, you're building that relationship. And again, and some dealerships will say, I don't believe in that form of communication. Well, I'm sorry. 1 billion GIFs are done daily with all the different forms of communication. It is a normal way to communicate. And especially, we're just in this, look at what's all going on with TikTok. I mean, there's all sorts of crazy things going on with TikTok. We're in a less like, like I don't know what to say, less boring world, I want to say. Everybody wants to be entertained. And so that's what you're doing with your communication.
Yeah, attention span is quick. I look back. I was in Charleston for New Year's Eve weekend, and went through one of the old mansions there, and it happened to be a house where George Jefferson, George Washington. I happened to talking about
George Jefferson walk though, man.
I actually saw George Jefferson. That's why it was in my head. But George Washington, right after he was elected president, and he was visiting the southern states and stayed at this house. and they had examples of letters. And I looked at, and my wife, Trish, she commented on it. Look how elegantly they wrote. And here we are today. We just send emojis and pictures, but that's where we're at today because for one, it's more entertaining. It saves time. It gets the point across just as easily. But that is, and that brings me to another question. So when I look back at CRMs and a lot of the original ones, I mean, they relied heavy on email. And I think there's a place for email, but like, how does email texting, like, what's the relationship in your opinion, how all that should work in today's market?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you straight up. I think email is dead. It's a CYA. That's it. I mean, if you're going to send formal documents and things for them to sign, then you're going to send it via email. Otherwise, you're just cluttered up with spam. I mean, it's just, to me, it's if I was to ask any of your operators, did you get my email? They'll have to go through 1,000 emails to find it. And that's any customer. I don't know why. And plus, Scott, how many times do you email your friends and family?
Yeah, no, you're 100% on this. So from a marketing
why do we do that
side,
to the customers, it makes the customer the enemy. You know what I mean?
so you're 100. Listen, I think there's a big difference, right? So from a marketing side, email is extremely effective.
Totally.
But you're not talking about that. You're talking about actual communication back and forth. And so I can't stand when people communicate with me through email. I already get enough in my email. It slides so far down. Sometimes I miss it.
Well, and here's the stats with texting, and you can go to Google. I use this in my texting slides, but a text message is typically opened within like 90 seconds and read within 2 to 3 minutes. I will take that stat any day as as an armed weapon for me in sales, because if my text was worth anything, they're going to reply. If it wasn't, they, like, Scott, you may get busy. You may have 20 text threads after this Zoom meeting that we're doing, and you're going to go back there and you're going to forget one. And you know what I'm going to send you? The little GIF that tapped the glass, I call it.
I think you did that to me once. I remember thinking, I made me laugh, and I think I called you back right away. So it worked then too.
It works. It works.
Well, when it's funny, when I'm talking to someone that's either trying to sell me something or it's something I'm interested in, whatever it might be, and I need information, I say, all right, email me the information. And then I literally will, I've gotten in the habit to tell them this because not everybody does this. Okay. So if you're listening, just do this. I tell them, after you send it, you better probably send me a text letting me know that you sent it, because there's a good chance if you don't, I won't even find it.
Yep. So Scott, let me challenge you with this. Okay. So you're shopping, you're going to dealership A and you're asking for information about whatever car. You go to dealership B and they send you a video. Which one gives you a better reaction?
Yeah. Oh, the video.
Yeah. I mean, would you send that email or even a text message with no emoji, no GIF, no nothing? You're communicating at 7%. Words are only 7%. That's why you go out there and you build these templates, and I mean, they're just God forever long. Okay, and nobody really cares about why buy from me anymore. They just want to know that I'm going to get a good, easy customer experience at your store, and I want to have a fun time. I don't want to have to feel like I'm going to the dentist. And so the video it's your digital handshake. People want to know that they're not buying from a robot. With all the AIs that are out there in every industry, humanizing the car buying experience or whatever experience you're trying to do and doing a part of the process. You can do video at any stage of any industry process to get that customer to the next level. I could go through a proposal with you through video. I could even schedule a live room meeting with me and go through numbers. The question is what is a phone call? What is a video? And when do I text? You never give bad news via text, right? You could do things via video. Just say, hey, look, I am so sorry. The car is on order. We got word from the factory. It's being delayed. All of a sudden now I'm compassionate. I'm not putting that on words, because then the customer is going to get PO'd.
Yeah.
So you have to leverage all the forms of communication to convey the message you want them to do, so the customer doesn't go in the wrong direction with the experience or the reaction.
Yeah, well, it's the difference. You just brought up quit telling them why buy from me type stuff. I agree. But what you're saying is you're giving people ideas and techniques to demonstrate why to buy, because you're communicating in a more effective, you're giving them information quickly. You're communicating in a way that they want to be communicated with, which in itself creates a better experience for that client. And that is, they on their own will sell themselves, wow, this is why I want to buy from them, because they just do the things they make it easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I
look,
don't
at
think,
the end of the day, all the salespeople, like, look, when I helped start this company and and the other companies, I was kind of like, the face of the company. That is a huge responsibility. I don't take that lightly. But I've done this 2 other times, and yeah, I'm different. I know I'm an anomaly. So, but I love what I do, and I don't feel like I ever work a day in my life in my entire career. And when your salespeople are going out there, they should feel the same way, and they're branding themselves at your dealership. They're a franchise, and that's why I take this like I'm helping every salesperson start their own business, like what I've done successfully 3 times. And it's all about building a brand for yourself. It takes time. I mean, I'm now like a little over 8 years. And I mean, yeah, we have 1,000 stores. It's an awesome story, but I did it through video. I did it through communication of text and GIFs and, forming a name like the Live with Drive guy. You got to find yourself, and it just does take time, and you got to be patient. That's why I tell every salesperson is you just got to be patient, and you got to do the right things and know that what you're doing today, and Scott, you'll appreciate this term, it's an upstream marketing strategy. You are planting the seeds on how you are as a person. So when the time is right, they think about you to buy a car, whatever service or whatever product you represent, that you're the top of mind. And that's a subliminal message that you create by branding yourselves and doing the right things today.
That's and people, so many people, it's easy to brand yourself on social, and people think that they just post, they put up quotes. It's not branding yourself. And I'm not saying the quotes aren't good. What I'm saying is what's number one should be how you engage and how you interact with whoever's following you, whoever you're connected with, whatever that might be. And the same goes with basically you're saying even on the CRM, having that communication and that back and forth, that engagement is priority number one. We had a prior guest, Ina Coveney, who talked about how to monetize a very small audience, because let's face it, most people don't have millions of followers, don't have hundreds of thousands of followers. And so how do you monetize that? She brought up a great question. She goes, if you had 3 days and you had to sell something in order to survive, would you go out and post a bunch of quotes? Would you go out and post a bunch of content? What would you do? And she said you'd start communicating with your people that follow you best, and start having actual conversations with them. And so it goes right back to the engagement. And I think if everyone, whether it's CRM or even just what you do on your social media, raise the level of engagement. And that doesn't mean that our clients or our prospects are responsible for that. How can we help them in their post? How can we engage with them and make that a two-way street? I think a lot of times, I don't measure likes. I don't measure views. I don't measure any of that stuff anymore. That used to be so important to me. How many followers do I have? And to me, it's all about how many conversations I'm having.
Well, but here's the thing though. Social media is I was, before I got in automotive, the only social media I did was LinkedIn. Never had a Facebook account until about 8 years ago. Didn't do TikTok till recently. My daughter said she would disown me. I mean, so but I got into social media now, and really whatever you post in social media, again, let's go back to developing a reaction, developing engagement. When you have customers or potential prospects that, in your business that are commenting on your post, you struck a chord. So you need to engage those customers, not just the fact that they commented on your post. That's a time to start the conversation. And that's Correct. How you have to leverage social media. It doesn't make a bit of difference. Even if they did like your post, you could just comment, on their message. Hey, I just saw that I appreciate you liking my comment. I hope I, made your day, right. Whatever, made you laugh, whatever that post was all about, comment on it and just say thank you.
you know what, but people, that's a long path.
It is.
It's people acting in the moment. People that do that right, they act in the present, but they're thinking long term.
Yep.
And I think what happens to a lot of salespeople is if they don't see immediate results, and immediate could be whether it's that day, it could be a week, months. But the reality is what you're talking about right there. And of course, depending on the type of conversation you have, it might happen quicker or take longer to develop that. But
well, and I'll give you a
can't
quick
give up on it.
Yeah. Let me give you a quick analogy because I think this is relevant. So my daughter, now I got a big following. I'm known in automotive. Obviously, I'm probably still known in medical a little bit, but I got a following on social. And, even when I'm talking to people see my post of my daughter singing because my daughter is a big singer. She's trying to get and make it big. And it's amazing because I'm now posting stuff on my social life, how many people come out of the woodworks and want to help, or they've been in let's say the music industry, they know people and they want to connect you and they want to help you out. It just starts a conversation. And it's just because I'm sharing something in my personal life. So sharing stuff in your personal life, not making it business is so critical. But, I'm trying to help my daughter out with her career path. And it's just been, I would have never thought social media in my entire life would ever, potentially go down that path. But it's just as you were saying that, it's just started thinking about how social has helped me with connecting other people around the country who've been in the music industry. So it's just kind of a nice little parallel, I thought.
Steve, just getting yourself out there on video will help your daughter's career. When you said most people would never have assumed you were trying to be an engineer in your prior life, I just assumed you were a rock star. That hairstyle, I thought that this is a rock star. Yeah, that's what you were custom made for. So it does not shock me that your daughter's into music.
Well, but I'm a performer. I'm not a singer, but man, she is. I'm telling you, man, she can rock it. Every Tuesday night they do a jam session. It's always wild to see her up on stage singing. So it's pretty wild.
Hey, where do you think Chuck's got a good question here?
Yeah.
Chuck Morelli put something in coming in through LinkedIn. How about placing a video within your email? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, email, depending upon what technology you're using, if you're using, I don't know, Chuck, what you're using. There's a lot of video tools that you can do. Some of the other CRMs, by the way, do have plugins and integration. We were the first CRM building video within Drive Centric. So it's seamlessly, you can send the video via text or via email. Most of these other CRMs now, they do have that integration with other third-party tools. With email and place the video in the email, if you're not using a tool out, within your CRM, the compression of the video could stop it from being sent to the customer because of the file size. Most of these video tools that you buy outside the CRM have a compression mechanism, so it'll be a streaming video to the customer. So yeah, I mean, video send it via email. I would highly recommend doing that. Obviously, text as well. The thing, Scott, you mentioned, when you're sending that video via email or via text message, I would always follow up and say, I sent you a video. Did you get it? So your message that you want to convey in the video, whether it's text or you want to put your message in video in one of those two forms of communication, but you want to make sure the customer sees it, because when you send it via email, everybody knows it could go to spam. So trust but verify. And I don't care if it's a video. It could be pictures of a car. It could be anything. If you have a picture of yourself, there's a lot of things. Go Google what causes email to go to spam, and your hair will stand up like this.
Where do you think people waste a lot of time when it comes to their CRM?
Oh, they're just, the dealership is forcing them to make all these phone calls. That's where they're wasting time. They're ignoring the customers that are talking to them. That's what drives me insane. If you know that if I have like 20 things to do on my work plan, but I have 5 customers talking to me, what takes precedent? Well, everybody should say the 5 customers talking to the store.
Yeah.
And then the work plan, because customers are buying cars so fast, there's a lot of communication typically that's going on. They're getting backlogged with their CRM, and then they get, I got a salesperson gets buried there, and even BDC gets buried because I think the antiquated metrics that dealerships are using, they've got to move on. They got to be progressive. We have to start celebrating a digital showroom customer engagement, no difference than a physical showroom engagement. And the digital customer talking to my digital showroom is just as relevant. If a customer walked in your physical showroom and waited longer than a minute, that's what people want. Right on rice. I want to be right on that customer when they walk in the store, but we don't acknowledge that for the digital showroom customer.
Yeah, and to me, I can't wait for the time where we can eliminate the word for any industry, digital retailing.
Oh,
because it's the majority. It's the majority of where it all starts. So why are we calling it digital retailing when it's just that's the way retailing is today?
Yeah, well, here's the way we define digital retailing. It's like saying soda, in my opinion. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Digital retailing is doing a part of the transaction remotely and not being at the dealership. Now, if
Yeah.
you can do 100% of that deal all remotely, great. But if I do a credit app remotely, if I can, do an interview about your credit app, if I could do a virtual test drive, if I could do a virtual walk around video with that customer, if I could do a virtual trade appraisal, I could do a part of the process remotely to make it easier for the customer. And, look, at the end of the day, customers buy from who they like. And if you make the customer have a pleasant experience, make it easy. I guarantee if you start using the word, we're going to make this process so much easier for you. Do you want to do this? Do you want to come into the store, or do you want to do part of this remotely? Just ask that. It's one question, and I guarantee you, I don't have to come into the store. Now you could go to, if other dealerships make you come in the store, they're antiquated. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Let
me, what final thoughts you got? Cause I want to be respectful of everyone's time here. What kind of final thoughts do you have to help motivate business leaders use their CRM more effectively?
Yeah, I would say get with the times. And think of your CRM as an engagement platform. That's what we're transitioning. That's what we're educating our customers is it's engagement first. Data management is second. You don't have the time to research the data and mine your data to try to find a customer buying a car when they're buying 70% of the time in 4 days.
Yeah,
it's a speed game. And anybody that tells you any different, feel free to give me a call. I'll show you the data and be a better responder. We defined a term called fumble rate. Understand the customers that are talking to your store. So if a customer is talking to your digital showroom, think about being a responder. Create a management team, your BDC people, to quarterback conversations. There are customers that are talking to your store that need to be replied to. Period. End of story. Quit being a task monkey. Take care of the customers right now, today. Understand what's happening in your digital showroom, and that's how you leverage your CRM. All the forms of communication. Texting is the number one form of communication. Video, live streaming. That's the progressive way dealerships need to be working with customers, by those forms of communication. Earn the right.
Repeat that. Repeat that again.
Texting is your number one form of communication. Personalized video is humanizing it. Live streaming opportunities, we call it live rooms, where you can do a meeting like this and get face to face with the customer. It'll ease the anxiety of the customer when they come into your store. And plus, you have to worry about these skating conversations. People are always going to never skate the live with drive guy with this hair. They're going to know who I am. So skating conversations with video go away. All right. So but that's what you're doing. You're branding yourself. And if somebody walks in the store and said, I can't remember, but I was talking to that hair guy, they know who the hell I was talking to. All right.
I got to tell you, just the whole mental approach to this, customer to client, the whole approach to why you do that. I just love it. The whole focus on engagement instead of task. We sit here and we talked about, and we said this early on, that the key to a great CRM is, first off, getting your people to use it. How user friendly is it? But there's a different, with what I'm hearing from you, there's a different thing here. It's also a different mental approach from the user as to what their role is using it, which, quite honestly, the thought process of going from this task to just building relationships and then having this engage, that's different too, which also would contribute to more use, I would think.
Well, here's the thing, though, is that if we know texting is the number one form of communication, and if I know that all these old business rules in these CRMs have, like, let's say, a phone call task, an email task, right? But I know that the number one form of communication is texting, and my customer is a texter. What am I going to do with that phone call task? I'm going to fake it every day of the week. Yeah. Every day of the week. It's just the reality. And people that are listening to this, that I'm right. There is no way I would call a texter. I got to listen to the way the customers want to engage me, and I want to engage them. Otherwise, that's doing the task to the task mode. And so that's one of the things that we just talked about is understanding the customer's channel of communication. Like, look, if I have a customer that's engaging me, not with email, not with text, but I'm communicating with LinkedIn, I communicate on LinkedIn or Facebook. I use every form of communication to get that customer engaged, whatever their channel is. And, the social media gets through that, mess of email.
I feel bad when I'm trying to get dealers to attend the, like say our business bourbon and cigar event. I email them, I text them, I'm sending them messages on every communication, every channel, social channel I'm on there with. So they're getting bombarded from Scott. But I got to find where they're, then once they respond on one of them, I'll cover, all right, they like talking to me on Instagram or the text, whatever it might be. Right. So and then I narrow it down. But Steve, I want to thank you, buddy. This was a incredible show. I knew it would be because you always bring high energy, and I love that. You're very passionate about what you do. But business leaders should easily be able to take you've put out so many nuggets here that they should be able to take back and integrate easily. So that's the other thing. You're not you gave great stats, you gave great data insights to kind of back up what you were saying. You gave great analogies. I thought the dating apps and why they do things was a great analogy. These are all things people need to start incorporating into how they use their CRM, more importantly, how they engage with their clients. Can you tell us a little bit more before we close out, a little bit more about DriveCentric and if there's anything you want to offer anybody listening? I just sprung that on you, but go ahead.
No, I mean, like I said, we want to help customers that want to be helped. I mean, if you're looking to transition and modernize your strategies and putting all your communication centralized in one place versus buying all these ancillary tools and try to piecemeal it together, it just makes the tool much easier for your staff to use. But again, all our customers that we want to come on board with DriveCentric, they got to think engagement focus first. It's a culture change to go to DriveCentric from any other CRM. So it's commitment from both parties. It's not for everybody. I'll be the first one to admit to that. I'm an owner. So yeah, I mean, I want to help improve everybody's to sell more cars. And statistically, when you get engagement focus, our stats and our studies with what we've studied with dealerships, they grow at 38% on the average. I can't imagine a store ignoring that kind of information and not going out there and thinking engagement first, because it just makes sense, Scott. If you think engagement, if I can have you talk to more customers, indirectly, you're going to sell more cars. It's the people that selling cars is not that hard. You just got to talk to more customers.
That's the reality, right? And so there are only 3 or 4 levers that we can grow our businesses with. And if you can't improve how well you sell and you're not improving some of the other ones, the reality is you talk to more people and they're qualified people. And obviously they are, if they're engaging back and forth with you, you're going to sell more. So everybody, I'm Scott Joseph. I want to thank Steve Roessler for sharing with us. And I want to thank the business leaders in the audience for tuning in to Move Crush Count, joining us for this amazing interview. To me, you're one of the top experts when it comes to client relationship management, CRM, and how to use it to grow your business faster and more effectively. Once again, if you want more information on DriveCentric, you can reach out to Steve. I've got his number on there. It's 314-803-4334, or you could visit drivecentric.com. That's scrolling there at the bottom. Make sure to follow Move Crush Count. We're on every channel possible, right? You can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can subscribe to us at movecrushcount.com. I need to put that up there and let that scroll. So make sure you visit that. That way you get up-to-date information on all our new episodes, our new guests, and make sure you join our Facebook group and our LinkedIn group, because people like Steve are on there. So if you've got questions you want to ask after the show, you can reach out to him directly. You can also fire up into one of those groups, and he'll respond. He's very good about that. Today's interview was sponsored by J&L Marketing, a digital marketing agency helping business leaders outsmart and outmarket their toughest competitors so they don't have to outspend them. Your marketing can perform better, and you want an agency that specializes in combining video advertising, marketing strategy, campaign management, So check out J&L Marketing so you can enjoy the excitement that comes when you move the crowd, crush your competition, and count the money. Everybody have a great day. Thanks, Steve.
You got it, buddy. Take care.